What is up, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new YouTube video. Today, I'm gonna be as transparent and honest as possible when it comes to the state of the airline. So if you're a student in flight training right now and you're working on getting your ratings and you have dreams and admirations of being an airline pilot, this video is for you. I wanna talk about the current pilot shortage or lack thereof and the rumors that are going on, because I know there's a lot of headlines going on out there. Or if you're just a big aviation geek and you're curious about the state of the industry, this video is for you. So smash the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, and let's get right into it. Before we dive into what exactly is going on, we need to talk about the mandatory retirement age and why this pilot shortage exists. So in the 80s, a lot of airline pilots were hired. We call these the boomers, right? The boomers are all approaching the mandatory retirement age of 65. And that mandatory retirement age was instilled at 65 in 2007, where the FAA actually moved the age from 60 to 65. And ever since then, the day you turn 65, you are no longer eligible to operate under the Part 121 regulations or the Airlines here in the United States. So the second you're 65, you're done. Well, right now, the House is potentially gonna pass the huge FAA Authorization Act, which essentially, part of the act, a very small part, extends that mandatory retirement age from 65 to 67. Now, a lot of people oppose this bill and a lot of people are for the bill. And you guys can probably take your guess at the older generation is for it or the younger generation is against it. Me personally, I don't care. However, I think that this bill has a decent chance of being passed. I know a lot of people are gonna go back and forth in the comments of there's no way, or it shouldn't be passed, or let them fly. You know, to each his own. For me, I am so fortunate. I've been hired at such great times in my career that it doesn't really make that big of a difference. I'm gonna stay in my seat for the foreseeable future, and them staying from 65 to 67 doesn't affect me at all. In fact, I know firsthand from seeing a lot of these airline pilots that were hired in the 80s or 90s go through some pretty crazy times with 9/11 or the recession in 2008 and losing a lot of their retirement or taking massive pay cuts. So there's been some craziness and some ebbs and flows in the airline industry, as there always is. Just like in the economy, the global economy, there's always peaks and lows, and that's just how it is. But like I said, I really don't have a valid opinion of whether or not it should be past the 67, but I honestly believe it's kind of a coin toss right now. I would say it's about 50-50. And as of right now, they're voting on extending that bill. I think it's May 10th. So we should be knowing here pretty soon. And then it'd be maybe 90 to 120 days of when that bill actually gets going. So the airlines have a lot of things logistically on the back end to consider if that bill is going to be passed. So if that bill does get passed, it kind of puts a 2-year stagnation or pause on that. All those massive retirements that we're seeing, this huge peak of mandatory retirements, which is another reason why you were seeing this massive pilot shortage. All these airlines had all these pilots that were retiring, and they had to keep up with that. Also keep up with expansion and taking on new airplanes. And with taking on new airplanes means taking on new crews. So you have to staff these airplanes. And that also takes us into the next thing, which I know you've seen a lot of these headlines recently in the past couple weeks, where it talks about United CEO Scott Kirby is offering pilots to stay at home and have no pay, or JetBlue is offering 2/3 the pay for pilots to stay at home, or Southwest is done hiring for the remainder of the year. These things can obviously change at any point in time. And the big reason from that is a lot of carriers are supposed to take on delivery from Boeing. And I know you guys have seen the chaos that is instilled with the 737 MAX that's been delivered over the last few years, with the 2 horrific crashes when it comes to Lion Air and Ethiopian Airways, which resulted in hundreds and hundreds of casualties. So ever since the 737 MAX come out, I feel like Boeing has been struggling big time. And now with the most recent event of the 737 MAX 1000, as you guys saw, the Alaska plug door just completely departed the aircraft. So Boeing is unfortunately going under massive quality control issues, and the FAA is investigating that. And because of that, Boeing hasn't been able to keep up with their deliveries and their promises of deliveries. In fact, Southwest Airlines was expected to take delivery of almost 80 737 Maxes this year, and they're expecting and have been promised by Boeing to receive almost half of those. So with that, they have to cut down on staffing because they were expected to staff all these new airplanes, and with no airplanes to staff, they don't need to take on this excessive payroll with staffing a bunch of pilots to stay at home and not work. Another reason why you might see slowdowns when it comes to hiring is because of the global unease, and the economy, like I said, goes in ebbs and flows. And right now we're going into the most political tense time in probably US history, which is the election coming up in November. And with that comes a lot of unease. And then you have things like wars, unfortunately, going on around the world. So there's a lot of global tensions going on. But however, that doesn't take away from the year-over-year growth in air travel demand. We take the pandemic away, 2020 and 2021, we've seen rapid growth year over year. TSA has released some astonishing numbers of how many people are traveling here in the US. So that's another reason why we have this pilot shortage, is because they couldn't keep up with the constant global demand of air travel. So this is gonna lead me into kind of my closing motivation for the flight students out there. I've only been a part of the airline industry for 8 years, and I've been so fortunate ever since I've come into the airline industry of just hitting these insane hiring waves. But that doesn't mean that I haven't been exposed to some of the crazy nuances of the airline industry. Like I said, my dad's been part of the industry for 39 years, my grandfather, my uncle. I've seen the things that they've gone through, and I know there's peaks and valleys in the airline industry, especially when it comes to hiring. And I've seen people get furloughed, and I don't honestly see that happening in the near future at all. In fact, I see kind of a misalignment here with hiring or not hiring. I think that maybe hiring should be slowed down a little bit, but I don't think it's gonna be as bad as the headlines are forecasting it to be. I really don't. And like I said, that's just my personal opinion. So if you are in flight training right now, keep your head down, keep focused. I know you're putting a lot of time and energy and money into this, into the dream of being an airline pilot. And I understand the scariness of seeing all these headlines, but I really think that you're gonna be okay. And I think that you have a beautiful future ahead of you and a phenomenal career right at the end of the tunnel. I know you see that light there, and keep your eye on it and stay focused. I don't think that you should give up flight training right now or even put it on a pause, because we are still hiring. A lot of airlines are still hiring right here. And I think that the future of being an airline pilot is still bright and beautiful. And I think that you have a lovely career ahead. And I think that you're gonna continue to see hiring throughout this entire year. Maybe when there were gonna be 2,000 hires this year, maybe there's gonna be 1,500 or 1,200. That's still a lot of airline pilots that come on. And if this retirement age does not get passed from 65 to 67, I think you're gonna continue to see a massive spike in hiring, where you might see that 2,000 number at each airline. I think Southwest Airlines hired about 2,000 pilots last year, and now they're at about 350, and they said they're potentially gonna pause the remainder of the year. But if this bill does not get passed, I can see that number easily exceeding 1,000. So keep your eye on the prize. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're new here, and let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. I'm curious to see if you guys are in flight training, if you're just an aviation geek, if you're an aviation lover. And if you are in flight training, I'm curious to see your thought. If you're pausing flight training, if you're gonna kind of just put it in the back seat for the time being, or if you're gung-ho and you're gonna keep on trucking through and get those ratings as soon as possible, which, as you guys know, is always my point of view. Get those ratings done, try to get to the airlines as soon as possible, and put everything else kind of on the back seat, because getting that seniority number is everything. You guys know that. I've always preached that from day one here on this channel. So hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.